You trying to make it like a race thing?
So yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna drop the down link. Casino in the chat.
Yeah, I just seen it so.
What?
Sure.
They upstairs. You just walk back past them upstairs.
Well, trash in there already. I took all of that.
Oh, you haven't heard it? Hey, pull up that part on your phone with Dr. Umar Johnson talking about LeBron and them. Hey, see if you can find that part where Dr. Umar Johnson talking about LeBron. Somebody say he right and wrong. Candyman say who looking for him? Dr. Umar always gonna bring the race element in there.
Mm-hmm. This one, 23 hours ago.
He does it so much so that it makes me not really say something.
Most of the time.
This is the art of dialogue. They say he went off on LeBron, Shannon Sharp, and Stephen A. Smith.
Well, you know them industry people, so why the fuck are he even worried about it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are bona fide.
He rips LeBron and JJ Redick podcast.
They can do whatever it takes for the industry. So
Track business mileage with the QuickBooks mobile app.
What up, Big Cino?
What's good? It's good
Ain't
this
nothing,
morning.
man. Hey, what's up with this Dr. Umar Johnson thing, man?
Dr. Fubar, he loves his moments.
Say Dr. Fubar.
In case y'all don't know what that means, it's fucked up beyond all recognition. So we might have some young people in here don't know what that is. But
Do you think because some people saying he's right and he's wrong. Why would some people be saying he's right?
because he's right and wrong. They defending her for the wrong reasons. She hasn't done anything. So what in the world you need to defend her for? That's the thing. She never did anything wrong. All she doing is going out there playing basketball. So I don't understand. They're blaming this based on the fact that a lot of conservatives have attached themselves to Caitlyn Clark. Like you got like people like Clay Travis or whatever, who Stephen A just adores, and he seems to be friends with all of these people that came from ESPN that were conservative, that drove out all the people he claimed he was supporting, like Jamel Hill and Michael Smith and all those guys he claimed he loved. But you bet behind the doors, you best friends with these guys and brought them on. Clay has actually said they hate Caitlyn Clark because she is a heterosexual woman, white woman, and they are playing in a black lesbian league, and all of this angle. So the conservatives is like, oh, like she's the only person over there who
Wait a
is.
minute. I was about to say, who said that?
Clay Travis.
Holy shit.
Yeah, live on the show. So when he said that, everybody else in all the conservative channels, they're doing this because they're targeting her. She is not conforming. She is staying a heterosexual woman, and they don't want to see a heterosexual white woman be successful. So they have painted this angle, and everybody else, from Charles Barkley to LeBron, just do anything. He just jump in. I remember I got in the comment section and I responded to him with Samuel Jackson's quote from Pulp Fiction. I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. Nobody asked LeBron that. Because
Hey man, LeBron gonna come looking for you one damn day.
Oh, he come looking for me, he gonna find me quick. Cause I be like, I was glad you showed up. Yeah, shoot, but yeah, this is what they call a dog and pony show, man. Another one, because they just using this to milk it like the poor woman. She is a rookie. She's going through everything a rookie is supposed to get. They did the same thing to Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball came into the NBA with all this hype. He was all this attention. And they was like, and everybody like, oh, Lonzo wasn't nothing at school. So everybody wanted to go after Lonzo Ball. Very first game, Pat Bev got his publicity for going after Lonzo Ball. He was already first team all defense, but he didn't get any publicity, television, nothing until he went after Lonzo Ball and shut Lonzo Ball down that first game, jumped all over him. So it's like, this happens. It's not like you don't seen it before. Whoever's supposed to be the star, they want to show them. Okay, we got to go after them. They did that to LeBron. When LeBron first came in the league, guys wanted to play him and say, okay, I want to see what this LeBron guy is. They say he the king. They did that to him. They go compete. That's called competition. Why they act like that's alien now? Because she's white, so they want to make the angle. Oh, they don't want to see the white girl succeed. And Stephen A., he's just a damn idiot. He don't understand the damn thing. This is good for business. Why can't you just let her be successful? Ain't no let somebody be successful. It's already good for business, you dummy.
Right. Now, I was under the impression that she was the only one getting cheap shots because I saw a few cheap shots, but they doing the same thing to Angel Reese.
Yeah. And Angel Reese fighting back. I mean, they did the same thing to Candace Parker. When she was a rookie, she came in, she got up and tackled the girl back. So the girl tackled her to the floor, and then she got up and tackled that girl back. They were wrestling on the floor. So I'm like, this is her rookie year. So it ain't like it ain't happened in the WNBA, but they doing it because it's Caitlyn Clark. They want to see her. She's not having the type of season that they want to see her have. They want to see her just destroy the entire WNBA. So now she's not having that year. They need the excuse of why she's not having that year. It's because they're targeting her. There's a hit on her. They didn't put a hit out on her. All the players is out to hurt her and all this. No, it's not. And she's actually had some good games. She's a rookie. She's learning to play with professionals. She's not going against 19-year-old college girls. She's going against some of the best female players in the world. And that's what you're dealing with here. These are seasoned 7-year veterans. You got veterans who are not every day known in the WNBA as superstars, but they great defenders. They dogs out there. And they gonna get all up in her. They picking her up at half court. And then, not to mention, not to knock her team, but a lot of her teammates don't really like her. They don't really like Caitlyn Clark. They don't like the hype.
I noticed that because if your teammate getting whipped on like everybody on the outside is saying, then a teammate is supposed to be whipping on the people that's whipping on Caitlyn Clark.
Yeah, she don't really join in, and they be doing their little dances and celebrating. Caitlyn Clark just walk straight past them. She don't even engage in none of that stuff that they do, celebrating or nothing. And then they made fun of her at the press conference, like, because she came late to the press conference because she was out there signing autographs. The girl's like, oh, okay, I'm glad you could make it to the press conference. And they was like, oh, man, they like, why would you put her on blast like that? But she out there signing autographs, though. That's why it took her so long to get in there to do the press conference. But it's a lot of people kind of envious of her success or her hype, and she's getting all these deals and sponsorships. Of course, that's going to happen, but that's going to come with the territory. But what Stephen A. talking about is good for business to let her be successful. It's like, what? I'm not saying y'all can't win the game, but, it's good for business if Caitlyn Clark is. No, It's already good for business now. She's already selling the tickets. She's already got people viewing. They already, now ESPN want to cover it. So Monica McNutt was right. You could have been doing this on your platform years ago. If you the boss, you claim that you this boss and you made all these people and got yourself in all this hot water. Now you got to go around trying to clean it up every day. He was sitting up there like a wounded dog on his own show with them 2 black women on his show. And that black woman had to tell him to his face he was hurt. That black woman told him only God made me. He had to take it on his show, KB. Oh my goodness. I guess KB Mike went out. Okay, he back now.
All right, I'm back. You said that black woman had to tell him to his face what?
Yeah, Shanae had to tell him on the show. They had them 2 black women after he told Monica McNutt like how he made everybody. Even Jamel Hill had to get in there and was like, "You, whoa!" And I had just said it the night before live when he said it, and I was like, "Cause I think I texted you that night." I said, "Man, this fool done did it. He didn't went live. You was at the restaurant."
Yeah. I had to go back and see what you was talking about. But yeah, he basically told her, like, I basically made you. Like, you can't disagree with me, basically.
Right, like I made you. I made these people. I made all them. Man, everybody responded. I'm like, that's a lie. I was like, you had nothing to do with the hiring to get anybody on this show. I'm like, these are lies. This man is literally lying on this show. And Jamel Hill had to clear it up. She was like, wow, like I was on the show before you was on the show. I was on there when it was called Cold Pizza. When you wasn't even a regular, you wasn't even working at ESPN no more. She had to put it out, but she's like, you did invite me 2 times on your Quite Frankly show when you got that. And he's like, I was appreciative of that, but I don't even understand this narrative about making people. Like what does that have to do with the topic? That was her whole thing. She was confused. Like, why did you feel a need to bring everybody's name up in a debate topic with Caitlyn Clark? What about this making people thing got to do with anything? So she was confused, and Shanae told her, look, only God made me.
That's what that dummy needed to hear, because it had nothing to do with nothing. That's what I said to him when I went live. I'm like, it ain't have nothing to do with nothing. What you talking about?
Yeah, because he was embarrassed. He did it. She did it on national television. And that's the way Monica McNutt's supposed to do it. And she ain't back down either when he tried to pull that. Are you talking to me? Yep, I'm talking to you, Stephen A. Wow. Okay. He was hurt. That boy was hurt. He was steaming. And Shannon Sharp went and put her on the platform so she could have a fair shot to go ahead and say what she wanted to say. Because her and Shannon Sharp are really cool. And he was like stuck in the middle. And he was trying to explain it to Stephen A. Like, Stephen, like you was wrong in your approach. Like the way what you was saying is wrong. We have been doing stuff. He was like, no, y'all know y'all ain't been covering the WNBA like this. Now, come on now. Y'all only do that in July when the season used to start.
But he throw temper tantrums though. He act like he above being talked to or called out. Mm-hmm. That's his whole persona that he comes up with.
Absolutely. Because Screaming A. Smith is what they called him when he was doing writing in the newspaper. They was calling him Screaming A. Smith before he was even on TV. But his claim to fame, after all the lies he told, his only claim to fame is when he decided to go ahead and defame a man who was dead, a black man who was dead, Carlton Hines. He had his first 2-page article. That is how he became famous. He went to the neighborhood, pretended he was from the Bronx, even though he isn't from there, or Harlem and all that. Like, I'm from the Bronx. He was the only one that can get boots on the ground and deceive the family like he was close to the streets. He's a black reporter. So the family was telling him things about what was going on and the investigation, and he put it all in the newspaper and basically did a slander piece on a young NBA, a college prospect. Carlton Hines was caught in the drug world and got killed and murdered. So a black kid who got murdered, living the street life, Carlton Hines, he gets involved in that article, and that's the only article he wrote of any prominence. All the stuff that he said he wrote, even in his book, were lies. They were written by other people. And I was like, we found the articles. All these magical articles he claimed he wrote does not even exist. Including
Wait a minute. Hold on, Cino. That's breaking news now. Because I didn't know this. You mean to tell me he lied about writing articles and he's lying about playing basketball?
I could pull it up right now. I have the facts.
Ain't no way, Cino. This man's whole life is made up.
Whole life is a lie.
My whole life is a lie.
The Coach Gaines article that he claimed that got the coach fired, no one could find that file or that magical article anywhere. He named his book based off the article. I'm a straight shooter. And that's when they called me a straight shooter, because I wrote this article about the coach. It was so powerful. You would think he would have that framed in his house. You would have that framed if that was the one. If it's what you say it is, Stephen A., no one in the world has talked about it. No teammates, not his son, who's a coach, ever talked about it. You not in Coach Gaines' book. You not even in his. When he passed away, everybody signed the book and signed the. You have nothing. You haven't even signed his book. You have nothing there of any prominence whatsoever.
This is one post. Boy, no wonder he gets so defensive when he's called out, because he know he's just fake. He a poser.
Yeah.
He cat.
That's why he hates to confront anybody. He wants to go to his YouTube platform. He ain't gonna do it on ESPN. I was like, you disgraced Kyrie Irving on ESPN in front of millions. Apologize to Kyrie Irving on ESPN. Don't do it on your Stephen A show. No, that ain't where you did it at. You did it on ESPN in front of all the world. Why won't you go on ESPN and do it?
So they didn't schedule him enough time to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But he say he run the show. He put everybody else on. So if he really wanted to apologize, he don't. He can't. I bet he can't do it. I bet he can't.
Nah,
Because he's doing somebody else's work. And whenever
That's a
you
shame.
do someone else's work, that's the narrative. Always. When you're doing someone else's job.
No, he definitely ain't gonna get canceled. He has to offend a group. He has to offend women. He'll get canceled then.
Yep. And that's why this WNBA, now they got him to promote Caitlyn Clark. You got to push Caitlyn Clark. You got to push the WNBA. You got to keep pushing it. Everything this dude has did is a lie. Let me see if I could share
What articles did he say he wrote that he didn't actually write?
I'm gonna send you a couple of them right now. Oh, there was this guy who was a serial killer in New York. Because remember, he said he also did some crime. He was like, I had to go and report on crimes and homicide. And this was the biggest one in our city. And they had me write this. This was my breakout article. And this is it right here. I just shared it to you.
They say he's a fraud and headed for stupidity.
You see the link I sent you?
Let me see. Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, there it is.
All right, let me put my phone on mute. Hold on. So what are we watching? Is this the guy
This
guy he
is
was
the
talking about?
article. Yeah, this is the serial killer. And the serial killer went on a spree and it killed all these people. And Stephen A. said this was the biggest story that he wrote at the time. He said, this is my story. This was my coming out party. I wrote and I covered this story, and this broke New York. This is all over New York. This serial killer was caught in like a traffic situation, and he said he had more bodies. It was the biggest thing in New York. It had about, for a whole week, this thing was covered from front to back, 2 pages, right? Stephen A. said he wrote this for the paper. This is the paper he wrote for. There's 2 names there. One name is Mike McClary and another person named Emery Bronshire. He's taking credit. He's nothing to do with this article. Nothing. He's not even there. So I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not the person that covered this. This is the paper he worked for. This is the article that he was bragging about. None of these people's name is yours.
Man, you just gave me more shit to troll about in this chat.
It
When
get
I get to
worse.
his chat, boy, it's on.
It's gonna get worse.
Damn.
But this is, yeah, and all these lies is in his book. Oh, we got more. I told you, we got the whole file on this guy, man.
Do you think he'll ever answer any of these questions or any of these things we saying about him since he put himself out there? This ain't hate. If he said this stuff in a book, shouldn't
In a
people be able
book,
to challenge?
he's
Shouldn't
on
people be able to
record.
challenge his facts?
Oh, he won't sit there and want anybody to challenge his facts because he doesn't want anyone he's gonna act like it didn't happen. He's gonna act like he didn't see anything. So it's not gonna be big enough unless it's everybody start picking it up. But it's clear, it's here, and brought anybody research, you will find nothing of the sort, hardly anything on Stephen A. Smith as to how he got his success. Because I went and I said, I'm going to research and find out how you got where you are, really. And buddy, what I found out, you got there on the death of a black man. They needed a black face to go down there into the hood and go and talk to people about a black drug dealer who used to ball, who could have went to school. That was your only article to break you out. But you don't use that article. You lied about every other article. He never mentions that article. How you manipulated the family to believing like you was a friend of his.
So he been white daddy's little boy.
Oh yeah. He pretended to be like he was a friend of the family, like he was a friend of Carlton Hines to get the family to talk to him. He played that, oh, I'm from the Bronx. He played all of that narrative. So they believed him.
Man, this nigga been a snake. This is a snake in the grass. I told you he don't got no talent. This nigga is pitiful. That's pitiful, man. He been snaking people all his life. He snuck AI, snuck the coach.
Yep.
That's all this nigga do.
His
Did
only
not even write
crime
the article.
article. Let me go to his crime article. because he was talking about he covered crime. Let me see. I got that too. I'm gonna share that. Like he was Crime Stoppers. I used to cover crime. They had nothing for him to do in the sports world. So he was covering articles about crashes. They was like, go out there and be a journalist. So this is the only thing he could get. Not even a full page. He get a one little section. Go ahead. I sent it to you. It's in the you should be able to pull it up now. There it is. Stephen A. Smith. Crash kills 2 unlicensed driver to drive a nav.
Wow. Wow.
This is
This
all
is
he can
sad.
get.
This the guy that's critiquing and judging everybody the way he's doing.
Right. So when everybody in the world is covering that murder case that he's talking about he wrote for, you didn't. The only thing you covered was a car crash that killed 2 people. And you ain't even have a full article on that. So if you look at this, you can tell right away this dude here is a pathological liar. And he was writing like a 3-year-old.
Oh, it's worded bad too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's written like a 4-year-old would write it. Like somebody who was just out of there. Look, a 4-year-old girl and a 47-year-old man was killed yesterday when a motorist whom he said license had been suspended more than 30 times crashed into another car on the, he gives the address, Armourdale Street. Little girl, Samantha Alvarado, was fatally injured when her father, Santiago Acevedo, 30, rammed into the second car. I mean, people don't say rammed. You don't say rammed into the second car. People, when you write articles, you don't use words like rammed. Rammed is not there. They would say crashed into, they would use another word. They wouldn't say rammed. So all of these
So that
words,
boy a dummy like his daddy said.
yeah, he definitely is. He's just a manipulator. But this is what they meant. And Whitlock is right. He was a better writer than you. Always was a better writer than you. And when he said he helped you write something or correct something, and that you have other people to help correct you and other writers there, I believe him. I believe him 100% because his articles was well written compared to yours. Well written, excellently across the chart. That's one thing about Whitlock they can't take away from him. He can write.
The chat agreeing with you. They said collide is another word that they would use, but not rammed and all that stuff.
Right, they wouldn't use rammed. No professional journalist would use rammed and actually go over it and say, okay, yeah, rammed is a good word to use here.
Yeah, that sounds like something I use.
Right.
We rammed right into that motherfucker, man.
Exactly. So when they found out this article that was going on at the same time, they told this dude, go on and cover the car crash. That the big story, which was the serial killer, they had their real writers cover that. Not Stephen A. Smith, but in his book, he gonna lie and take credit for writing the article. If anybody's seen or heard his book, Straight Shooter, listen to what he says about this situation here. He made it look like he was like uncovered CSI, like he was covering crime. Yeah, he definitely did.
Man. Money is the motivation, like Lil Wayne. He'll do anything for money. How did he become such an expert? He could talk about UFC, boxing. He talk about everything. How did he become such a Renaissance man?
He's a con artist, like he said in his book. I'm a con artist. I said, oh, okay, well, there it is. I was a con artist. I conned everybody. I conned people to believe. What did he say? I conned people to believe I was like I was smart and I wasn't.
He said that in his book?
Oh, yeah. I got him on tape.
God, to be more careful.
Yeah. Stephen A. knew what he was and how to get by. He got to hustle. That's how he got to do it. He got to hustle. He's been a fraud his entire existence, and he won't admit that's how he got to where he at. If you think about everything that he did and his whole involvement in the whole scope of things, like with Kyrie Irving, his father, and that's when Kenny Smith had to bust him out. And if you listen to him, he tell you right from the gut.
Chapter 2, the boy just ain't smart. From the time I was 6, I thought I was stupid. Although I talked well and a lot, and articulated my thoughts fluently enough that some folks swore one day I'd become a lawyer or a public speaker, it was all a facade. I couldn't comprehend what I was reading, a deficit that my oratory skills only served to hide. It got worse each year, stunting my ability and willingness to grow intellectually. Before long, I was in the 2nd grade, but reading at a 1st grade level. Then I was in the 3rd grade, still at a 1st grade reading level. I got decent grades anyway, mostly A's and B's. I gave presentations in front of the class based on recall of whatever the teacher had taught us. I could ask and answer provocative questions. For much of the time inside the classroom, squirming at my desk with all those other squirming kids at PS 134, I don't remember feeling like there was anything wrong. Then, at the end of each school year, we take a reading comprehension test to determine whether or not we should be promoted to the next grade. I was helpless on those tests. That's when I felt the profound shame of thinking I just wasn't smart. When I was left back the first time in 3rd grade, a stint in summer school was enough to get me moved up in September. But my reading deficiency continued through the 4th grade. And when I bombed the comprehension test at the end of that school year, I was left back yet again, this time for the whole next year. Had I not been so determined to get myself together and rid myself of the shame I felt, I truly believe I eventually would have wound up dead or in jail, like many of my childhood friends wound up. Because without an education, the streets of Hollis were eager to claim me. I was lost. I was the only one I knew in the neighborhood left back, and the kids on my block, smart-ass New York City kids, were merciless. Donald, Mark, Willie, Billy, and Tony, practically everyone in Hollis within shouting distance of 203rd Street was laughing at me at ear-splitting volume. Boy, you got left back again? Everybody laughed except Pooley, my closest friend. He lived right across the street. Big and tough and eager to show that he was both, Pooley took care of anybody who messed with me. He always had my back, always took my side in any argument, and never backed down from anyone. After I was left back that second time, however, even Pooley felt helpless to do anything. I mean, it's not like the other kids were wrong. Hell, Pooley was never left back. Damn, was all he could come up with to comfort me. 40 years later, I still remember all those kids' names and faces and the things they said. But they were just kids. They didn't know any better. I knew that even then and didn't hold it against them, as much as it hurt, as much as it still hurts. Instead, I held it against myself. I believed I deserved their abuse and absorbed accountability for it. But I also was convinced I'd get better. I knew that if I could stomach the embarrassment of that setback and still march forward, I could withstand anything. But there was something else that caused me to let them off the hook. A bigger chip that was dropped on my shoulder. Their laughter and taunts weren't anything compared to the shame delivered by my father. I'd get over that too, but I would never let it go. The day I learned I'd be repeating the 4th grade, I sat on the steps of our back porch and cried. I was hiding from the world, too ashamed to show my face to anybody. But between sobs and sniffles, I overheard my parents talking through an open kitchen window. My mother had just told my father that I'd gotten left back for the 2nd consecutive June. Her voice sounded worried, empathetic, in search of a solution. My dad's voice was the opposite. Matter of fact, resigned, dismissive. Give it up, Janet, he told her, like he was talking about a sink he'd never be able to fix. The boy just ain't smart. He's not going anywhere. Accept it. My mother must have heard one of my sobs and peeked out the window. She cringed when she realized I'd overheard every word that my dad had said about me.
And that's why he's so messed up today.
Damn, man, this nigga need a therapist. And shit. I was over here about to cry for this nigga, man. For real. He done went through some shit. I imagine that'd be no wonder he talk about people the way he do. Everybody talked about him.
Yeah, his damn daddy, his own daddy, he tried to go to daddy for comfort, and now you see his mama was the only one to keep babying him up. His dad was like, just give it up. The boy ain't smart. He ain't going nowhere. Accept it.
Yeah, the boy's a dummy. It's okay. His daddy still loved him. He act like his daddy don't love him just that he was a dummy. Yeah, he was just trying to accept him as he is. I birthed a little dummy, but I still love my little dummy. It's my little dummy.
Yeah. Yeah, then you told on your daddy, man. Daddy told you, man, look. He went and picked him up, and daddy had a whole nother kid with him and another woman, and he told him, hey, keep your mouth shut.
Well, shit, daddy might be a dummy too.
Yeah. Man, it was so much stuff he didn't went through, man. He was like, my mama with me, we went over to the girl's house, my mama banging on the door, and he opened the door and said, look, don't disturb me and my family.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's why that boy got issues, man.
Yeah, he got daddy issues.
Yeah, he hate goddamn daddy.
Yep.
Oh, what daddy did to mama? And he think all men are pigs.
Yeah, but mama, he couldn't understand why mama would still take up for daddy and say, don't you put no book out about your daddy until I'm gone. Even when she was dying, he was sitting down there watching the game in the house. Dad is in there watching the game. He mad dad downstairs. He was like, everybody comforting people and you just ain't comforting nobody. We ain't forgot that. You down there watching the game.
Damn, he don't even want a daddy to chill and watch the game.
Yeah, because he's like, mama up there dying and you ain't even going up there to say nothing to mama or nothing. You just, he just, Stephen A is just, he's torn up. But that's just how his daddy was. He was just, he's from like Senegal or somewhere. Like, he's from an island. So he's just, his mentality was different. He didn't want to work for nobody. He wanted to work for himself. And that was it. He had his own business. And that was his whole thing. Was he's like,
what the hell happened to his son? His son never even wanted his own job. He just got his own YouTube.
Well, his whole thing is he loved his son. His son was named after him. The oldest brother, the one that died. That was him. That's when he was, this is my boy. Yeah, they from the Virgin Islands or somewhere. Yeah. But this first son, that was the one that like the big brother, because his brother is like 18 years older than him. Like his brother's old. Brother was
Dang.
older than him. Like he had to be about at least 10, 12. That's why when he was like Jam Master Jay and my brother was best friends, I'm like, your brother was like, no way. It's like Jam Master Jay and your brother probably wouldn't even know each other. He would have been Jam Master Jay would have been a little boy. It would have been best if you said you and Jam Master Jay was
Oh, so
friends.
he lied about that too?
Yeah, he lied about that. And I'm like,
Oh man,
his brother,
god damn.
his brother, he's like, we lived on the same block. And I'm like, if that was true, you probably knew of Jam Master Jay back when he was a kid, but Jay is like your age. Jay would have been your age, not your brother's. Your brother would have been going out to the military at that time. He was graduating from high school. So what would a senior in high school be doing hanging out with a grade schooler? That just don't make no sense. So he left right after high school. He went straight to the military. So if he went straight to the military after high school, he wouldn't have known no Jam Master Jay. He was a little grade school kid. So what you mean they was best of friends?
Man, this nigga lie about everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. This man will make a lie about anything to fit his narrative.
I wonder if his daddy even said that to him. I think he might have just said that because that'll make him get some sympathy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he all about sympathy, man. That shit crazy.
Oh, hell yeah. And that's why this is the article that made him. This is the article that got him his prominence. They gave him his first article, his first big shot. And this was it. Talking about the death of a black man who was a drug dealer, had potential NBA material. He was like Carmelo Anthony, his game, Carlton Hines, but he was like one of the biggest drug dealers in the hood and was shot and killed. So Stephen A manipulated this entire people into believing like he was friends with him. Got in there and manipulated the family so they talked to him and all of this stuff. And you put out this article and this what got you on the paper. And some of the family still was ticked off how you deceived them and tricked them into believing that you were somebody that was like cool with him, or you knew him, or you from the same streets and you work for the paper and you want to tell a different side of the story. And of course, his story had a slant. Street struck. And it's funny. Yeah, every article he did, there was always some controversy. A woman was saying how, hey, this person went in there, this Stephen A guy went and made stuff up in the story, and it wasn't true. He was spinning stuff even back then. So as you can see right here, it's written by Stephen A. Smith. So when he write it, it's got his name on it. So it wasn't like he was writing for somebody else and they took credit. He was just lying in his book. That's all he was doing, was lying. But a death of a black man, some negative, drug dealing and all this stuff going on. And sure enough, who they sent there? They ain't want they white journalists to go down there and try to get the story. They said, look, we got this black guy here. Send him. He gonna get the story for us. They'll talk to him. And that's exactly what he said. Oh, yeah, they gonna talk to me. This like my hood. I know that. Yeah, they gonna talk to me. He went down there, scammed these people and scammed the family, and they trusted him.
Damn. This guy here.
And this is what got him on the map. And they knew, okay, you gonna be all right.
So what year was this right here?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. When did Carlton Hines pass? That was in the 90s. I don't even think they got the date on here.
So this dude been doing this since the 90s.
Yeah, it was April 8th, but I can't see the date. Well, the chat will probably find it. It was early 90s. Somebody said 94 or 95. But I know it was early 90s. Yep, Carlton Hines. I'm the Harlem World's Carlton Hines. You don't know me, homie. That's what Cameron used to say. That's it. April 8th, 1994. There you go. Thanks, Terry. Yeah. It was 1994. So that's when this was about.
That's a long time for Stephen A to be using black men. That's all this nigga do. Dang. So this guy was a hooper and he allegedly sold drugs.
Oh yeah, he was a star player, and then he took to the street life and was like one of the biggest drug dealers and like I think he's from the Bronx, but he was something. Like on the basketball court, his game was like Carmelo's. He was just like Carmelo Anthony. Like his game, post game, up and under, like he had all these moves. So he definitely had the potential to go to the league.
Oh shit, that hurt. That one right here hurt. I'm getting a haircut. My bad. That one right there,
Oh no,
bitch.
I can hear.
Damn.
Yeah, I've been hearing the Clippers, so yeah, I can
Shit.
tell you getting cut.
Now the nigga just cut me for real. Damn, bro.
Yeah, been laughing about Stephen A too much.
Nah, that Stephen A part was funny as hell.
Yeah,
So this happened in '94.
94.
Was he in college or was he in high school?
He was in high school. I think he had just got out of like he was supposed to go to Syracuse. As they saying, he's gonna go to Syracuse, and then from there, NBA.
Yeah, that's crazy. That if he played like Melo with the Syracuse.
Yep. Yeah, he played just like Carmelo. They was like, "Stop moving your head, KB."
Man, nigga snatched off. This nigga almost snatched off my ear, man.
Yeah.
Said, "Don't move."
Homeboy hookup gone
Yeah.
wrong.
So that's it. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna put this on you, Sino. He ain't gonna have no mustache.
Oh damn! So you about to shave off my mustache? That's hate for real.
Oh man.
If Stephen A can get away with it, I can get away with it.
No, Stephen A getting away with lying about his whole life.
Yeah, he
Yep.
shaved everything else.
The man scored 1.5 point on one shot.
Man.
Yeah,
I-
and he never got a degree in journalism.
Oh,
Wow.
how?
That's amazing.
I thought that's what
Nope.
he be bragging about, all them degrees.
Yep. He
So he
never
don't even have a degree.
no, he got a degree in mass communications, not journalism. Like he tries to pretend. Like he's a journalist, didn't get it for journalism at all.
So he can talk on the radio.
He just got it from mass communications. So he tries to make that like journalism. No, it's not the same thing.
You just talking in front of the crowd.
Mm-hmm. I can get that degree.
Yeah, see, it's in there right now. I got the file right there.
Hold up, let's see. Damn, Stephen A. Snitch. Why you be finding all this shit? Baker Man Baker Man be like, Casino is a CIA agent, I'm convinced.
Stephen Anthony Smith, mass communications. They got everybody on there and their accomplishments and they what they got the degrees for. And there it is, mass communications. Stephen Anthony Smith. Now this is his journalistic side. So his whole basketball side, we already know is a lie. But this is his journalistic side. This is supposed to be the other side.
This supposed to be at least true right here. This supposed to be at least true about him, that he's supposed to be good at this.
So he has
Find out that was a lie.
journalism, right? No journalistic degree whatsoever, only in mass communications. So if he ever brings that up again, y'all let him know you do not have a degree in journalism. Like most of the journalists out there, they have a degree in journalism. He didn't. He only has it in mass communication.
That's a damn shame.
Yep. He does
How
not
does a
know.
guy with a mass communications degree get to talk about all the topics he's talking about? From fighting to basketball to everything.
Yep, he's been lying. Oh,
Baker
man.
say what's up, Chico.
What's up there, TJ?
No, Baker Man.
Yeah, that's what we call him.
Oh.
Baker Man.
Man, what else did he lie about? I hope that's it. It can't be no more.
Man, this dude done lied about so much. He done lied about how he went to Atlanta and left. And in his whole journalistic career, he had made all these different changes. He then came to a point where he's talking about my journalistic career started in Winston-Salem State. I was the sports editor for the News Argus, which is their college newspaper down there. He's like, I've gone through the school's entire archives from 1990 to 1991. He published 5 articles, and 2 of them he wrote about basketball. That's it.
2 out of 5?
2 out of the 5. There is no Coach Game Must Retire article nowhere found. Never even heard of. It's not theirs. The college yearbook, he's never mentioned with the other writers in his paper. He's never mentioned. So it don't even make sense. Like, what articles did you write? He was recruited by one of the sports editors at the Winston-Salem Journal. Now, that's in North Carolina. They were serving as a source for the news, the information, the local community people, and they dedicated to the comprehensive coverage of the sports events in that area. He was hired 5 minutes into his meeting with the sports editor. That's what he told. He was a natural sports writer. They really liked his article about Coach Gaines to wanting to retire and all that. This is what he put a whole chapter in his book, and you made all that up. You know what his job was? His real job?
No, what was it?
He was sports department clerk.
Wow.
That was your job, Stephen. And you were
From the bottom now, you
department clerk.
Damn.
And what did they put him in? His first assignment, he said, I had to cover the men's soccer team. And he was like, I had no experience with the sport. I approached the team's coach with an open mind, forging an instant connection with the coach, relationship like with Coach Gaines. The coach took him aside and said, you being too soft with your coverage. This is important. Your honesty, your fearlessness. This gotta be it. Call it like you see it. And he said, you're right. I have to carry out my professional duty. So I have to do my damn job. Man, now looking in the archives of the Winston-Salem Journal, they had confirmed they have database containing every article that has been published. There's not one article for Stephen A. Smith ever discussing soccer. Someone else wrote those stories during that time, not even Stephen A. Furthermore, there's not a single article at all from Stephen A. despite his claims that they are. There's no evidence he ever worked for or even wrote for Winston-Salem Journal. And Warren Buffett owns that newspaper. There is no evidence of you working, Stephen A., for the Winston-Salem Journal. Prove it. I'm asking
Damn.
Stephen A. Smith right now, prove
Breaking news. Breaking news. Prove it, Stephen A. You lying.
you never worked there. You never worked at the Winston-Salem Journal. What article? Provide the articles you wrote for the Winston-Salem Journal. Please, one of them. Produce it. That's what we want to know.
He's gonna block you, Carceno. You done been blocked from the chat. Damn.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We gotta put him on blast so he can know. People that dug into you. You should have never wrote that book. That book was the worst thing that ever happened to him.
Why you say that?
Because that book put out, it's like, okay, now you done documented it and put all these lies on paper and for the whole world to see. Now everybody got you on blast. So now that this book came out, now you gave the world the whole opportunity to just pick apart every lie you didn't told. Now you he said he interned during his final semester at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's a 5-hour car ride away from your college, Winston-Salem. So if you interned at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution from Winston-Salem, that's a 5-hour car ride. Doing your final did you drive there every day? Did you move there remotely? He never explained how he got that position. That's a significant newspaper in the Atlanta metropolitan area. For anybody who knows, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is big. Now, my thing is, that was considered a major newspaper and the only one that ran daily in the Atlanta region. That was owned by Cox. That's, the Cox Communication. That was one of America's richest families. For the people out there that don't know. And he worked in the newsroom. So if you worked in the newsroom, how the hell was you making 5-hour drives? Going back and forth. You was doing 5-hour drives?
Damn.
Now, he did have an article in there, though, as a staff writer. See, the thing is, writing about the Braves, college football as a staff writer, this would enhance your resume published in the articles, right? And we'll give you an opportunity. So I went and reviewed the archive and saw the newspapers. Stephen A. published 6 articles from February 19th to March 23rd of 1992. They all covered college basketball. He was never credited or mentioned anywhere else. So all of the other lies he told didn't make no sense. He was only covering college basketball. He had 5 to 6 articles in there. And I'm looking at one like right now. And that was it. He was covering the East Tennessee, Arizona Tulane game. So he was not credited or mentioned anywhere else.
He meant food drive. Damn.
Yeah, and then
So how
they
did he
had
get away with lying like this for so many years?
because nobody was going to check. And remember, in Atlanta, they had the Olympics, and they had that bombing that went off in the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
That was in Olympic Park back in '96. All them people dead, Richard Jewell, the whole thing. That was a big thing. They thought the bodyguard did it and all this stuff, and they would label him as a person of interest. This story was going on for weeks. So all this stuff is going on, the mainstream media, and everybody's covering it. And he wasn't a suspect no more. And it was like, well, where's Stephen A? You weren't nowhere around. You didn't talk about it. It was nothing. So where were you at?
And he don't have one of the best writers and one of the best journalists don't have no articles about it.
Nope. He has nothing about it. Nothing about the Olympic bombing in a sporting event.
That's kind of confusing to me.
That's very confusing. With the biggest story, the Olympic bombing in Atlanta, and you working for the paper, and you a sports writer, you have nothing to your credit covering it.
I think they told him, "Hey, you sit this one out. Your skills ain't strong enough. Sit this one out."
Right. So you have nothing out. So you wasn't as big as you thought you was.
Mm-mm. That's a damn shame.
Yep.
He talk all this big stuff, but in his field, because you know how he like to say, you got on the field of play and I get to judge your talent. So based on what you telling me in the field of play of journalism, he terrible.
Yeah. Then he went to Greensboro News. Now he went from there to Greensboro News. You went to a major newspaper, which you was interning for, and then after you graduated in '92, you went back there. Why you never covered anything? He went to Greensboro, that's like 15 minutes from where he went to college. Did you move back from Atlanta? What was going on in Atlanta that made you, after you graduated, move back?
Mm-mm-mm. We ain't gonna get none of these. We ain't gonna get no answers to none of this stuff.
Oh no, because despite his claims in the book, there's no record of him ever being employed with Greensboro News and Record. There's no record of him ever going there and working for them. They don't have him on file. So how they don't have you on file working for Greensboro News and Record? No articles mention your name. There's no evidence of you ever publishing any pieces there. So they share the same common ownership with the Winston-Salem Journal, both being under Warren Buffett. He owns both of them.
So this loser just been talking about people when he really a loser.
Yeah. So
Wow.
you have been fluffing your resume and you lied through your own autobiography, lied throughout it. Has nothing to back it up. No article from anywhere in that area to say otherwise. He is a plant. They planted you there.
So Stephen A is a plant. Is he just there just to lower people's contracts like I thought he was there for?
Absolutely. He was trying. Everything you said has been true. When he tried to do that with Jaylen Brown, Isaiah Thomas had to come out and call him out, trying to say the man wasn't marketable. And then he was like, oh, I wasn't saying that. My source said that. He was like, well, then state your source and don't say that on a national platform in front of millions of people. You go on ESPN and say that. Why would you say that? Why would you feel comfortable to go live on air and say that about him? Isaiah Thomas said, that's fine if you said something different that's coming from you, that's different from what they saying, but stop being a puppet for them. Let them come out and say it for themselves. Let whoever their source is come out and say that term that you feel is derogatory, it's not true. Then if you don't agree with it, why are you repeating it out your mouth?
Right.
Let them say it. Let them stand on
There's people in the chat say they're gonna hire you for a PI.
it. No, this person did all the research. He did the majority of it. So
Right.
yeah, this is his brother Basil, and he's talking about the death of his brother and all this stuff in the book. And him and his brother was never really close though, until he went and ran away from a daddy finna knock him out. He got up in his dad's face, and dad about to knock him out. So he's like, "You better go stay in your brother in New York for a while to dad cool down." So he had to go.
Mm-mm-mm.
And like he said, oh, he loved Basil was named after him, and he was like, man, I done lost my only son. He never looked at Stephen A as his son.
Dang.
So that's what I'm saying. He had daddy issues. That's his problem.
Oh, he got bad daddy issues if he ain't never even looked at him as his son. Damn, Stephen A. Stephen A, we gonna chip in and get you a counselor.
So yeah, and then when he come out, he worked at the New York Daily News. When I was working at the New York Daily News in 1993, they had a special thing. He got his first article with Tiny Archibald, and it's something in there I want you to see. So I'm gonna definitely bring it up for you.
All right.
So that the whole world can see it too. Okay, there it is. There's a key word in here. Because they put your title under your article, like, who are you? So he got this Tiny's Touch with Tiny Archibald for the New York Daily News in like March 7th, 93, or something like that. But right under it says Stephen A. Smith. And right under there, it says special to the news.
He said what?
Yep, it says special to the news under there, right under his name, Stephen A. Smith. It says special to the news. That means you're not a regular staff member. You just they just got you there to give you an assignment, but you're not working for them. You're basically on a temporary, you're like a temp worker. They're testing you out. So he was special to the news.
Damn, Stephen A.
So you were special to the news.
Man, this shit keep getting worse.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible for him. So we had to get his history because it's like we got to go and find this guy's history because this guy here has been for years acting like he was this, like his track record was outstanding. He was this writer and he was a con man. That's everything we know about him is a con. I was like, this dude has lied in this book so much, it is incredible. That's why Whitlock is like, my goodness, he's like, this is unbelievable. Like Whitlock, like, man, this guy mentioned people that don't even exist. He's like,
That's
that's a
crazy.
piece of work.
Man, I gotta get in his chat. I can't wait for him to go live again. Like, dog, you the fakest dude in the world.
Right. You gotta provide some articles, buddy. I'm like, we need proof. Because if you got that Coach Gain article, you know you need to bring that up.
Man, his hair gonna fall out.
They just won.
Some more of that tape line for the fall out. Damn. That damn Cino, you used to work for you like a bounty hunter or some shit.
That's why I follow him, because
Yeah, when he put that, I'm like, no, when he put that book out,
fact check.
that's it.
Yep.
That was the final thing he needed to do. When he put that book out, that was the end of him. I said, oh, now you documenting all this stuff, what you did. Okay.
But now you can go and fact check everything he said.
Yep. And you can find out he didn't lied about everything. He lied about the lies that he lied about.
God, to be more. How you lie about the lies that you lie? Damn. That's a whole lot of lying.
About the lies that you lied about. This man, Stephen A, couldn't make his basketball team until his junior year, he said. He was like, man, my junior year, I tried out. He got turned down them other years. Stephen A. Smith, boy.
So he made it he scored 17 threes in one game after he can't make the team to his junior year.
Oh yeah, well that was when he went after he graduated. Now this is basketball. He went to Thomas Edison, a trade school. His mama put him in a trade school because she was like, "You're gonna be useful. You might be stupid, but you're gonna learn a trade." So she sent him to a trade school.
That's why he talking in colleges.
Yep, she's like, "You're gonna learn a trade. You might be stupid, but you're gonna learn how to do something." So she sent them to an all-white school.
So he couldn't make this team?
He couldn't make this team. This is the Far South team. So he couldn't make this team. So he claimed he was on the team, on the senior team. He made the team. He is not listed as a player nowhere on here.
Hey, Stevie boy, where are you, Stevie?
Where are you? Even if you weren't photographed, you would be in the team. They would say not photographed in there. Stephen A. Smith, you're not on the team.
Dog, I told y'all, stars are not born, they're created. Stephen A is fucking created. This shit is so crazy. This is crazy. This man been up here talking about everybody for years. And he can't make this basketball team?
Mel, if he made the team or missed the photo, they would still have his name down there. They would say not photographed.
Not photographed.
Right.
Stephen A. Smith.
Right. He's not on the team.
Man, Jesus, jeepers creepers. If you can't make this team, you don't got it.
And if you look here, the Far South team, he even got the coaches wrong. Because he talked about Coach Hopkins. Coach Hopkins, right there, coaches the Far South team. Coach Haskins is the coach that you was talking about, I guess, in the book. He got that all screwed up.
They say, I wonder if Stephen A. did a fraudulent resume to work at ESPN.
He probably did falsify his record. And he couldn't make this team. He had to fight to make it on the team. This is a tech school. It was only 3 black kids in the entire school.
Man, them white people were mad as hell. They got the only black dude that came there that can't fucking hoop.
He was like, me and the star player got into
Yeah.
it.
Hey, they were so bad. He's not a real black guy. He can't even play. My son can beat him.
Yeah, him and the star player got into it.
Yeah, they must have thought he was gonna be all world. Being from New York, a black kid at an all white technical school, they thought they had a diamond in the rough until he started shooting.
Oh my goodness.
Noise too. Eric
Damn, Stevie.
probably dressed like
This is a shame. What are you gonna say to get out of this one?
No, he can't get out of it. He's stuck. That's why he will not pick up a debate. Like when he got that phone call, when he was like, y'all can call in. I was like, oh, please put that back on there. I'm trying to catch it at the right time. And I'm definitely gonna call in. They're gonna be like, oh, what do you want to talk about? I'll be like, your basketball career. Your journalistic career. Let's talk about you.
Well, what's the terms he let you call in?
Oh, he normally has some number hooked up where you can call in to his show. Like, and
Oh, I'm gonna call in too.
Oh yeah, man. He did that. Like, oh yeah, you can call in. I'm like, oh, no problem.
maybe why.
No problem. I will definitely be calling you because I want you to answer these questions. Every time he went to a school, there was always somebody working against him. This is the team, y'all. He couldn't get past. He couldn't get on this team with the far soft. He couldn't get on the varsity team. He couldn't get on the team.
The black in me would have made me make this goddamn team.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Nowhere to be found.
He couldn't even make it.
He supposed to be the star player on this team.
Because he was
I would have been averaging 40, 55.
he couldn't even make the team.
He couldn't even make the team. Couldn't even be the damn towel boy.
I never made the team. He probably
That's a damn shame.
give him no pickup game.
They probably played against him and all the white people was all disappointed. He's trash. Only New York guy that's trash I know.
Sideline with all the gear on, hat to the back.
He getting ready to remove his number. Oh no, I'm gonna call in. I ain't know nothing about no number. I'm gonna ask him, why was you at them colleges, boy?
Right? And then you lied to your mama.
Trying to prevent another me.
He lied to?
He had lied to his mama about daddy. Boy, that was up.
Chapter 3, A Liar to My Mama. My newfound confidence came at a price. I now had potential, and my father knew it. Yet instead of being happy about this and supporting, guiding, and nourishing me, he merely became more confrontational and territorial. My maturing into the man I hoped to be was not his priority. It was a challenge. In his eyes, I needed to understand that our house was his house, and things were to be done his way, despite the obvious fact that he was rarely home, didn't pay any bills, and didn't seem to care what the hell was going on. I was constantly threatened with getting my ass whipped for so much as looking at him the wrong way. He repeatedly told me, shut up. No one wants to hear what you have to say. Everything, and I mean everything, was contingent on his mood. Nothing mattered more than what he deemed convenient or within his control. Problems with electricity? He was the only one allowed to hire the electrician. Plumbing issues? He knew the plumber, not you. Carpentry, automotive, yard work, etc. If anything entailed payment to an outside source, He was the one who provided the source. My mother was simply designated as the one who had to do the paying, which disgusted us to no end. Inexplicably, my mother was a total pushover with my father. All of us trusted her with all of our hearts regarding anything or anyone except with matters pertaining to our father. He was her weakness, the only person on earth who had a chance of convincing her that something was in the best interest of her kids when it actually served only his. My mother was far from a pushover with me. Her shorthand for what she expected out of her youngest child: don't be a knucklehead. Don't be stupid. So when I was in junior high school and stupidly told her that I was wavering about going to college, my mother didn't mess around at all by dismissing it as me just running my mouth. She took it very seriously, declaring that I wouldn't embarrass her by becoming some unemployed bum, and enrolled me in Thomas A. Edison Vocational and Technical High School, just across Grand Central Parkway from the hospital where she worked.
That's Edison.
You'll learn a trade, she declared. You'll do whatever it takes to make sure you have a job, period. You're not about to run the streets or end up unemployed over my dead body. And so it went. Thomas A. Edison was the first school I couldn't walk to. Although it was only a few miles away, it took me more than an hour to get there every weekday, with bus transfers and the inevitable transit delays. I looked out the bus windows wide-eyed at the big shaded yards that fronted the Tudor and Mediterranean homes of the first neighborhood we passed outside of Hollis, Jamaica Estates. That was the childhood home of another dude who, like Jam Master Jay and LL Cool J and the rest, found fame far beyond Queens: Donald J. Trump. I would receive a call from Trump years later, in 2014, when he wanted to talk about his wish to buy the Buffalo Bills football team. I told him that most of the NFL owners would likely stand in his way. They weren't about to let him into that good old boys club. His reply, verbatim: if these motherfuckers get in my way, I'll tell you exactly how I'll get back at them. I'm going to run for president. That's what he said, and sure enough, that's what he did. As much as I despised how he behaved during his presidency, I'll give him credit for that. Speaking of Trump, let me pause for a second to say this about our 45th president. I loathe his presidency for reasons that might not be obvious. I don't like to judge an administration's overall significance on a moment-to-moment basis. That's best viewed through the prism of history. Partially as a result, I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican, but a registered independent. I'll be damned if I trust either side. As far as I'm concerned, too many lobbyists influence our politics, the positions taken by politicians, and ultimately, because the politicians are acting on behalf of powerful interests rather than acting and speaking as independent representatives answerable to the public, their very ability to conduct themselves with traditional decorum is affected. As a result, there's no compromise. Very little gets accomplished for the American people, and this country grows more and more divided every time there's an election, and the cycle continues, and the situation only gets worse. I'll let history be the judge of presidents in the grand sweep of things, but morality and statesmanship are day-to-day issues that I track closely. Is a president looking out for the best interests of our country or for himself? Do you present yourself publicly as president of all the people, or only those who voted for you? By that standard, Donald Trump was an utter disgrace. He maligned war hero John McCain for getting caught in Vietnam, even as McCain was dying. And then he maligned him again after his death. He fanned the proverbial flames of existing racial tensions and exacerbated the situation with his petulant, undiplomatic style. He then went somewhere beyond petty upon the death of Georgia Representative John Lewis, a true civil rights hero, when he simply dismissed him because, quote, he didn't have nice things to say about me. He exacerbated tensions with the Asian community with his repeated referrals to the COVID-19 pandemic as the China flu or the Kung flu, knowing full well the increased hostility it would ignite toward their community and the danger it could place them in. Then he downplayed the pandemic because he thought it might affect his re-election. And he repeatedly declared that the election was rigged without regard to the damage his assertions would cause, evidenced by the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021. In my opinion, more than 81 million Americans did not vote for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. They were either fearful of a civil war engulfing the country, or they were just embarrassed as hell by a commander-in-chief conducting himself like a petulant child. To summarize the obvious, Trump's willingness to throw away any chance at re-election came down to his ego above all else. To allow his emotions and self-interest to usurp what he personally believed to be in the best interest of the country himself, even when so many citizens believed in his policies and thought he was the right man for the job, is both unconscionable and unforgivable. Supposedly, Trump believed he was the best that America had to offer for the presidency, correct? So why let such petty egotistical matters, like encouraging mask wearing or admitting that you've been vaccinated, get in the way of what you believed was best for the country? Especially knowing that he and others felt his re-election was a lock, based on how the country's economy was viewed as doing before the world was engulfed by COVID-19. But I digress. Back to my school days. Since I was a fool, telling my mother that my dreams of becoming a lawyer had evaporated and that I had no intention of going to law school one day, I started high school majoring in electrical installation. My assignments ranged from changing light bulbs to installing outlets and other electrical equipment. It excited my mother because there was always something in the house that needed to be fixed, and she was more than happy to let me experiment on small jobs. It spared her having to pay an electrician. My father was having none of it. His childhood buddy was the ultimate handyman, his words. So Riel, that was his name, had become our electrician, our carpenter, our plumber, and anything else my dad needed him to be. The rest of us were dubious. His handyman once claimed to have fixed the pipes in the basement of my sister Carmen's house. Turned out his fix was sticking tube socks in a hole in the pipe to stop the leaking. He rarely finished any work we called him to do. Instead, he'd drink and watch baseball games with my dad, sometimes for days at a time, even before starting work on whatever my mother had been coaxed into hiring him to do. Nothing was done on time. 2-hour jobs turned into 2-week projects, but my father continued to insist on using his friend and that he be paid by my mother. The reason eventually became clear. My sisters and I later learned that my father took half the money for himself. Yet another way he robbed us to pay for his other family and his own vices. As my high school years slid by, my father and I grew further apart. The hell with watching games with him. As my concern for my mother grew, I started to invite confrontation with him rather than avoid it. I saw how his selfishness and bullying was wearing her down. Working 16-hour days with zero financial help will do that. All I saw was a man who didn't want to work, who leaned on my mother to do his job, and who didn't possess a speck of shame about it. I lost any last strand of respect I had for him. I no longer was the bullied kid desperate for his approval. I was through with caring about what he felt about me and focused on how I felt about him. I stopped saying hello unless he did so first. I barely watched the games with him anymore, choosing to head to the park or over to my friend Ronnie Robinson's house. Conversations that he'd instigate were met with short, terse responses. Jokes and laughter no longer existed. Dad noticed. He didn't like it. I didn't give a shit. I fantasized throughout high school about making the varsity basketball team at Thomas Edison, but didn't try out until my junior year. I was just 5 feet 9 inches tall, 130-pound street baller trying to survive. I was always hungry. I never had good clothes. My mom was struggling like hell. The only thing that took my mind off it all was playing basketball in the park. That was my escape. From home, from my shitty self-esteem, even from the fellas on my block who had real home lives that only made me long for one of my own. I was messily evolving, overcompensating for my absentee father. Couple that with the usual teenage boy fluctuations in mood due to raging hormones and a hood that threw up a challenge seemingly on every block, and you got yourself a damn mess. Me. But then I'd go up against older dudes on PS 192's court who started saying, that cat can really play. At a time when I still didn't think all that highly of myself, I found a place where other people thought highly of me. It got to the point where even the drug dealers started to bet on me. That was real pressure. The last thing you wanted to do was make them lose. I honestly don't think they would have done anything to harm me. I mean, I knew most of them, but I didn't have the luxury of knowing that at the time. Looking back, I realized that pressure built character. Yet when I finally tried out for the high school team my junior year, I didn't make the cut. I lacked the skills that kids who played organized basketball developed, the kind of defending and playmaking techniques good coaching hones. I just didn't have the money or the talent for those travel and AAU programs like the Gauchos or Riverside. They were reserved for the young phenoms I knew about, from Rod Strickland, Dwayne Pearl Washington, Mark Jackson, and Kenny Smith, then on to Kenny Anderson and Lloyd Sweet Pea Daniels, who, by the way, was better than all of them. I wasn't in that category. And scrawny and undersized as I wasn't going to out-muscle anybody either. But my jumper was deadly enough that some players still viewed me as a threat. One of Thomas Edison's best players made sure I didn't get the chance to showcase any of my assets. It was personal for him. Dude didn't like me as much as I didn't like him. It had been like that for years. I don't even remember what our beef was. He thought I had an attitude. I thought he had an attitude. And while our disdain was apparent whenever we passed each other in the halls, it never went further than that. I chalked it up to teenage boy bullshit. You make somebody else feel miserable to make yourself feel better. Simple as that. But at the tryout, he had the upper hand, and he used it. He convinced other teammates to freeze me out so I wouldn't get the ball and double team me whenever I did so that I'd never get a shot. It worked to perfection. The coach, Harvey Stoller, didn't know me from Adam and couldn't have cared less about whatever team drama might be playing out. All he focused on was who could play. To him, I was invisible. End of story. I got cut after the first day of tryouts. I was heartbroken, but I also learned a valuable lesson. Before getting lost in the shuffle, toot your own horn. It was up to me to make sure the coach knew who I was so that he'd pay attention to what I was doing and what was being done to me. By the time the next season rolled around, and after hundreds more hours spent on playground courts, I made sure Coach Stoller would know whether I could play or not. I wasn't going to get lost in the shuffle this time. With tryouts imminent, I visited the coach at his office and told him what had happened the previous year. Then I asked him simply to look for me on the court during tryouts. If I wasn't good enough, fine. But I wanted the chance to prove otherwise. I added that I also wanted his star player, the one who froze me out the last time, to be on the court when I was. I wanted that more than anything. I needed the coach to see I was legit. My purpose was to accentuate the point that I was worthy of being on the Thomas Edison varsity, which is exactly what I did. The other guy was bigger and better. A kid who could use his body to great effect against somebody like me, and who had a savvy all-around game. But when he went against me one-on-one this time, I just let it fly, hitting shot after shot after shot. More and more students kept filtering into the gym when they heard what was going on, eager to watch the show.
Man, this shit sound like bullshit.
I made the team. My first thought afterward, what a beautiful year this will be. I had school. I had basketball. My mother appeared to be in better spirits because she became more focused on herself and less focused on whatever my dad was doing. It started off promisingly enough. I was having an up and down season on the court, sometimes starting and playing, sometimes making mistakes that limited my playing times, sometimes not playing at all. But I felt like I was progressing, picking up techniques and game awareness that my years on the playground hadn't fully provided. In one tournament held in Manhattan, inside the gym of the Fashion Institute of Technology, a mostly art and design school that also fielded a ranked junior college basketball team, I poured in 27 points. I was finally establishing some honest cred. But my hopes of a beautiful year evaporated just a couple of months into the season. I received a failing grade on a botched assignment in an electrical installation. That made me ineligible to play basketball for 2 months, which was essentially the rest of the season. I went ballistic, decrying the unfairness so emphatically that the tensions reached the school principal. My beef, Mr. B is what we'll call him, was arbitrary and petty and messing with lives. If you showed up a minute late for class, he'd deduct 5 points one day, 10 points another, or depending on who was late, no points at all. If you didn't pronounce the word answer as answer, another 10 points off your final grade. If you questioned any of this, if you looked at him wrong, more points. After signing a paper, points were deducted because I didn't attach my middle initial to the rest of my name. He didn't just do it to me. He did it to everybody, just to mess with our heads. The principal finally suggested that my parents meet with Mr. B in person to resolve the matter. Only my mother showed up at the first meeting. Hearing Mr. B's explanation, one I deemed totally bogus, my mother became so flabbergasted that she told him, Mr. B, I'm going to send his father up here to talk with you because I'm at a loss. I hear what you're saying, but here's the problem. My son is right here swearing to your face that you're lying, and my son never lies to me. Now understand, Janice Smith knew I had a mouth on me, but she also knew I respected authority, never disrespected my elders, and never got in trouble. And what she said was absolutely true. I had never, ever lied to her up to that point. So she left it to my dad to come to my rescue, unfortunately. Within seconds of my dad's arrival at Mr. B's classroom the next afternoon, it became clear that that wasn't going to happen. The very first words out of my father's mouth. So, what does Stephen do now? Mr. B smiled appreciatively. I knew I was toast. For the next 30 minutes, he spewed his interpretation of what had gone on between him and me. Whenever I interjected, my father blurted, "Shut up!" and then added to Mr. B, "See, this is how I know he's not telling the truth about you." It went on like that seemingly forever. They got so chummy, I finally couldn't help myself, and during one pause broke in. What are you guys gonna do next? Go out and grab a drink together? Bottom line, the failing grade stood, and I remained ineligible. I felt betrayed by my father, again, and said that to my mother the second we got home. As we talked, we all made our way into my parents' bedroom, where I looked at my dad with total disgust and asked, "How could you do that to me?" His answer, "Get the fuck out of here right now before I beat your ass." My father had it all over me in terms of size.
Man, you dead wrong. See?
He was someone you feared more than respected. But on this day, I neither feared nor respected him. I turned and walked to the door, something reminiscent of a scene from the movie A Few Good Men, in which Lance Corporal Harold Dawson shows his disdain and lack of respect for Tom Cruise's commanding officer character by putting his hands in his pocket after Cruise asked, "Whatever happened to saluting an officer when leaving the room?" Instead of leaving and closing my parents' bedroom door, I closed us all inside. I then turned back around and stood defiantly in front of my father's face. At that point, Ashley Basil Smith was not my father, and I was not his son. He was nothing to me, just as I felt I had been nothing to him all these years. He immediately jumped up to pummel me, but my mother leaped between us and screamed for me to leave the room while she continued to block my father. He was furious. He shouted that he was going to beat my damn ass the second he saw me again. My shouted response, before storming out of the room and then out of the house, "That would be the first fatherly thing you've done in my life." After fuming for a few hours, I returned home. My mother had a suitcase packed for me at the door. She wasn't throwing me out. She was sending me to be with my brother Basil, a traveling salesman who was working in Waco, Texas.
Her mama chose his daddy over him.
When my mother called him after I left to explain what had gone on, my brother told her he'd take me in for a few days until everyone calmed down. Basil and I weren't all that close growing up. He was 9 years older, and when I was 8, he left to join the Air Force, literally the day after graduating from high school. He knew the dynamics of our house. So while I was down in Texas with him, our bond grew closer and closer. My brother simply reminded me again and again of the importance of keeping my cool, of waiting things out until the chance came for me to get the hell out of there. Nothing would ever be resolved before that. He told me not to sweat what I couldn't control, and our father was definitely the thing that none of us would ever get a handle on. I finally settled down and reset, and after a few days, returned to New York.
Now, I'm gonna pause it there because he just said it right there. His brother is 9 years older than him, and he left right after graduation to go to the military. Stephen A, I believe, is 1 year older than Jam Master Jay. So if you was 9 when he left to go to the military, and Jam Master Jay is a year younger than you, how the hell was they best friends?
So he was best friends with an 8-year-old?
Right, he best friends with this 8-year-old kid. Jam Master Jay was 8 years old. How in the world, what he gonna say, man? This 8-year-old man, he gonna be a star, you know?
This nigga dead wrong. This nigga said didn't nobody want him.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they already knew that the 8-year-old was gonna be a star.
Oh man,
We need
it's
to do
so
a Captain Smith song.
God, boy, Captain X-Men. But when he said I lost it, when he was like, and all the kids start running into the gym when they heard what was going on. When does that ever happen at a tryout?
Man,
They just all the
everything
students
sound.
are running into the gym. This ain't even a regular tryout. He didn't fail that. So he giving him another chance. And as y'all see, he is not in there. And that's the picture of Mr. B that he talking about from Industrial Arts. There's him right there. Now, if you would have just passed your test, you would have been there. But when if somebody got kicked off the team and been ineligible for 2 months because they failed one test?
This
That's what I'm
boy is a
saying.
dummy.
Lie at the lie, la. Boy, I'm like, my goodness. He was telling it like a movie. And I was just on fire. It was jumper after jumper. This guy's kept me from the team. And the coach saw I was special. And I was like, man, what in the world is he talking about? There's no picture of him ever in no damn uniform for this school playing basketball. There's no stats in him in high school playing basketball, period.
Exactly. Hey,
Oh, he
look,
said
they
Sam Master Jay is 2 years older than him. Okay, he's 11. Okay, so that means he's 11.
right.
So his 18-year-old brother is hanging out with an 11-year-old on the block.
Maybe Jam Master was special at 11 too. Mm. Or
Man,
maybe Stephen A. just lying like a mud trucker.
yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. But his daddy said, yeah, he told you this whole thing is about his daddy and how his daddy sound like to me, your daddy was just a man. Like he knew you were full of shit your whole life. Daddy was what did Steven do now?
Yep, he probably told him a lot. Boy, you act just like your mama.
Yep.
He hated his daddy because his daddy sounded like a true player. Had them women under control and just lived for free. And the son could never understand that.
Yep. He didn't understand that life.
And now he the paymaster. He can never be what his daddy was.
Nope.
Too flat footed and he can't fight. You heard what his daddy kept telling him, whoop your ass, boy. Hey, as soon as his daddy got mad, his mama said, son, you gotta go.
He like, I came back, I had a bag packed at the door.
Mm-hmm.
You had to get dad some days off so he can cool down.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he about to knock you out.
You sound like one of them old school daddies you couldn't play with.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna tolerate no disrespect. He's like, as soon as I tried to interrupt, he was like, shut up. See what I'm talking about? Talking too much.
So his daddy was a Caribbean guy. Is his mom like light skinned or something? Or was she light skinned?
Yeah, his mom was she was light skinned, but not that light. But she had a black daddy, he had a white mama, his white grandma, who he raved about. My white grandma. Oh, my grandma was great. I'm like, what about your damn granddaddy? He don't talk about him.
He black.
Yep.
Oh man, that's his disdain. He got a disdain for black men. He view us as lazy through the lens of his daddy.
Mm-hmm. All the time. But this one to take the cake, buddy.
He said he think he lying about his daddy too.
Probably lying on him. But I don't think he learned my daddy was gonna whoop his ass. Because I was like, yeah, I can see his daddy being just like this.
Oh, you got something else?
What I encountered after stepping off the plane at LaGuardia Airport was one of the worst experiences of my life.
Oh yeah, he came back home.
While I was walking to the baggage claim, a little boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old, suddenly ran up to me and jumped into my arms. My dad, assigned to pick me up since he was the only family member with a car, stood right behind him. Stunned and confused, I asked him, "Who's this?" My dad's beaming response, "Your little brother." It was as if all the usual commotion at the airport suddenly grounded to a halt. I knew my father had another family, of course, but I never knew he'd actually fathered another son. I'd heard some noise in the neighborhood about him having another kid, but I thought it was nothing more than his taking care of someone else's kid, which he also did, not one of his own. Then the infant in his mistress's arms that fateful day at my Uncle Freddie's flashed through my mind. My slack-jawed response, nothing. It was a rare moment in my life when I had no words. I was speechless. I picked up my bag and walked to the car. I was totally confused on how to come across to this kid, whom I not only didn't know, but until just minutes earlier didn't even know existed. I didn't want to act out. He was still my brother and just an innocent kid. None of this was his fault. He was as much a victim of my dad's thoughtless narcissism as the rest of us. Then it got worse. After tossing my bag in the trunk, I saw my dad motion toward me to sit in the back. His mistress was already sitting in the passenger seat up front. I barely opened my mouth during the 20-minute ride to Hollis. Neither did anyone else in the car, at least that I can remember. The thoughts roiling in my head made me nauseous. What if mommy sees us? I know she'll lose it. God forbid she thinks I'm okay with this. Or worse, what if she thinks I had something to do with it? My worries, at least temporarily, were for nothing. Instead of driving to the middle of the block where our house was, my father dropped me off on the corner, about 50 yards away. Before speeding off, he called out, "Make sure you tell your mother I was alone when I picked you up." I couldn't focus on his cowardice right then. I was fixated instead on the pain my mother would feel if I told her what had happened. She would be apoplectic over both my father's deceit and the nerve he had introducing me to his mistress and the son he had with her. So when I walked through the front door and she asked where my father was, I did what I'd never done in my life. I lied to her. "Did he come pick you up by himself?" "Yes, Mommy." Lying to my mother in that moment remains one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced in my life. I went to school the next day. When I came home, my mother was seated on the edge of her bed, crying. Mommy was never home at that hour. She was always at work. And when I saw her like that, I assumed something tragic had occurred in the family and ran to comfort her. The tragedy was worse than I thought. "Why'd you lie to me?" she asked. I gulped. I stuttered. Then I lied again. "What are you talking about, Mommy?" Her tone was flat and frightening. "Why didn't you tell me your father picked you up at the airport last night with his mistress and their son?" I couldn't even look at my mother. I just put my head down and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you. But I didn't know what to do. I don't know how any of it happened." My mother proceeded to tell me that my father had called his sisters back in St. Thomas, his voice cracking, sounding like he was fighting back tears, according to my aunts, to brag about how his sons had just met each other. He went on about what a wonderful occasion it was and how he had made plans to see each other again. Not true. The lies he told forced me to give my mother a blow-by-blow account of what had actually taken place. She vowed to handle the matter herself the second he came back home. I told her not to bother. "I'll handle this, Mommy," I said. "It's time for me to step up." It was long overdue. Now nearly 18, I spent far too much time being.
I'm here to step up.
I'd also spent too much energy on being all I could be for me, and not enough time being what I needed to be for my mother, including keeping her from having to provide so much for me. If ever there was a time when she needed me to be the man of the house, this was it. My anger swelled. It was one thing for my father to do whatever he wanted, but it was something else entirely for him to do so many things to belittle and hurt my mother. She didn't deserve that strain on her heart. No woman does. It was time for change. I was in my bedroom the night he finally came home. I heard the creak of his footsteps on the stairs as he headed to the bedroom where my mother slept. I went in right behind him, told him to come to my room, and asked my mother to wait downstairs. To say you could cut the tension with a knife was not a cliche on this night. I repeated for him what my mother told me about how he called his family in St. Thomas to brag about my meeting my half-brother. He denied nothing. In fact, he seemed to bask in the glow of it all, adding that he'd do it again and that he had no regrets, as if he was even capable of regret.
That nigga there, boy.
Mommy, I asked him. She's wrong, he said. She shouldn't want you to avoid your own brother. And if you feel the same way she does, you're wrong too. My father and I locked eyes. I was through with him. Not just now, but forever. Let's get one thing straight. Nobody comes before mommy. Ever, I began saying to him. Not your mistress, not your other son, and definitely not you. I feel bad for that kid because he's done absolutely nothing wrong. But anyone who goes up against mommy in my eyes is going to lose, especially you.
Damn, anyone goes against mommy.
Already caused her. So there will be no more meetings with me and your other family. Are we clear? Nothing could ever be clear to him that didn't put him first. So his response was hardly surprising. To hell with you. That is your little brother. Your mother has no business keeping you from him. She's wrong for doing that, and you're wrong for accepting it. That was the real beginning of the end. There were no more conversations after that night. There were barely highs and buys. Birthdays, Thanksgivings, Christmas didn't matter. The most generous way to describe my relationship with my father from that point on was cordial. Barely. I never saw my half-brother again. Years later, I heard he passed away. I still don't know any of the details. Clearly, it had been a sad situation, but a necessary one at the time, because my father's actions put me and my siblings in a position of having to choose between a mother we adored and a half-brother we didn't even know. My dad did show up for my high school graduation. We took pictures together and feigned affection for each other publicly. But that was it.
Man. So
We need to goddamn title this The Sad Case of Stephen A. Smith. This shit almost made me cry. Lord have mercy.
now you can see what all his thing is. He got daddy issues. He's a mama's boy, but he got daddy issues.
He just described most granddaddies in America back in the day. He described, that's why some of these women are so upset. That's how men were moving back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gonna still meet your brother, grandma. See, he forgetting the other side of the coin. He making like his mom was just this innocent party. I don't really know, but half the times that's not true. When you out there doing what you doing, they doing what they doing too.
Yep. And that's how it was. The men went out and the women stayed at home most of the time. They were housewives, especially those who was paying the bills. But his daddy was like, she going to work. And like he said, that was my mom's weakness, was my daddy. Could nobody, no one else, but he had everything over him. Like, that's like unbelievable.
Stephen A. would have gotten the beating of his life if that really happened.
Yeah, if he'd have talked to his daddy like that, his daddy would have knocked him out. That's probably what he was saying in his mind. You know, damn well he talked like that to his daddy.
Yeah, it sounds like he got a good imagination because the way he punched a bag as a grown adult, imagine what he knew how to do as a teenager. He's just a good loud talker is what it sounds like.
Yeah. And like he said, he couldn't make this team. I'm like, how the hell you couldn't make this team?
Man, just imagine how many people he let down.
Right. And then in the thing, he said, Coach Harvey Stroller. Who the hell is Harvey Stroller? And I was like, man, you got Coach Hopkins and you got Coach Haskins. Who the hell is Harvey Stroller? Coach Harvey Stroller. We were like, wait a minute. Ain't no Harvey Stroller here.
That's a name that allegedly ESPN told him to give.
Oh, man.
Golly.
Well, I'm in the doghouse, boy, at the last name.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, man, I was late to the movie. I forgot I was live streaming and I lost track of time. So we was late going to see the Bad Boys movie, but I'm like, man, look, it's the Bad Boys movie. I had already seen it, but I couldn't let her know. But I'm like, I'm like, it's a Bad Boys movie. You act like we lost some plot of the movie, man. We ain't missed nothing. Probably 2-3 minutes. That's it. Like, my goodness. She was having a fit. And I kept going out because I hadn't seen it already. So I know I can step out, go to the bathroom. I'm watching the Adrian Broner fight on the phone.
Oh, Adrian Broner done fought already?
Oh, yeah, boy, he got his tooth knocked out.
Yeah, stop bullshitting.
Man, this is the funniest thing everybody that's seen this week. He got
Man,
knocked
I gotta
out.
go watch this fight, yo. Golly, I was rooting for Adrian.
Yeah, got his tooth knocked out, everything, boy. Then talking about some, man, they know I won this fight. I'm like, oh, come on now. You lost every damn round.
If you've seen that beer gut, I said, damn, he made weight, but shit, losing that type of gut right before a fight.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
gonna take everything out of it.
right. Yeah, exactly. It was a fat camp. Reflexes is slow. You can't be drinking and getting toe up like that. And talking about, so I'm gonna get in shape for a fight. Reflexes was slow. Counter punches slow, man. That boy was ready to fight.
Right. You can't deplete your body like that. He had to be off that drink for a whole year, 2 years.
Yeah.